work from a digital portfolio.
Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome to our meeting, Tuesday, October 23rd. Do I have a motion for the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All those in favor? Mr. Eric?
Yes, RTI facilitators appointments. Tiverton High School, Lee Cusimano. Middle School, Meryl Bitar and Kristen Distrips. Fort Barton and Ranger School, Pat Bird. And Pecasset School, Ian Tobin.
And for the members of the audience, would you just briefly review what our response to intervention program is, why we have coordinators, and how it benefits students?
We're required under state statute to have what's called a response to intervention team at each school, and it's the job of the teams to meet with teachers, actually teachers who have students that are struggling in the classroom, to come to them with their what's going on with a particular child they may be having trouble with, getting them to learn what they need to learn. They're then given strategies. It's called Tier 1. Very basic strategies, maybe try moving seat or things like that, or giving them basic strategies to help try to improve student learning. Then if that doesn't work, the teacher can come back to what's called the Tier 2 hearing. That's more, or it's level 2 or Tier 2, and that is more complex with more far-ranging strategies that they provide the teacher, and the teacher's talking to their peers of other teachers at the various schools, so they're talking to their colleagues, sharing best practices on how to help that child that might be struggling. And then if the child is still struggling, then they can go to Tier 3, which qualifies them for a IEP review. Prior to the RTI process being put into place, a child, if it was struggling in class, a parent could ask, I want my child to be tested for special ed services. Now they have to go through the process, the RTI process, before that can take place. So it's been very helpful because it's reduced the number of our children who have been selected for screening for special ed. So it's been very helpful in that regard. And we think in the long term, will help keep our numbers, get them down below 20. Right now, I believe we're around 18%. We were at 20, so we're seeing a decrease in the number of eligible students.
So part of the goal is that you try a variety of interventions, of support measures, in hopes that will be enough to help the student be successful, instead of first
them into the system for special
immediately, right? Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions? No.
I just have a quick question.
Sure.
When you're going through, if you were to have to proceed all the way to Tier 3, how long would that process take?
Depends on the interventions that were discussed. It depends on how fast the level. Probably, Diane, 3 months maybe, 2 to 3 months to get to that point.
It would vary. It depends on the interventions that have already been tried. By the time it comes to the team, we have some teachers that do quite a bit on their own. So they would come to an RTI meeting with data already showing the interventions or extra supports that they've provided for either behavioral or academic difficulties. And so in that way it could be quicker. A teacher who comes right at the beginning with a child who's just a little hard to reach and looking for more help, that one could take longer. We might have a student come in from another school. We don't have the complete history, but there are significant behavioral issues, and that might, so the timeline really depends on the students.
But I'd say probably between 2, 3 at the most.
Yeah, the thing is that we really need to have evidence that there have been classroom interventions provided, and that the teacher's documenting whether or not the child's responding to those interventions. So that's the biggest piece that we're looking for. And then after that, you increase the intensity of the interventions, either providing them more frequently for a longer period of time during the day, and then again you would document. So you try all of that first.
Sorry, and it's important to point out, it's for any child that may be experiencing difficulty at any grade level.
And it may be with just one part of
Could
one
be-
curriculum,
It could be they have problems with math.
or fractions
Or
in
right,
math.
or right, or a subsection of that. So it can be very detailed. And what it does is it allows, especially younger teachers, the opportunity to go and talk to their peers in a professional setting where they, the teacher bringing the child's name forward, as Diane said, would say, here's what I've done to date. I need some help. What would you recommend? So it's a very positive experience. The child's not there. It's just the teacher with the colleagues. But we found that it's starting to work very well for us as a means for an intervention.
Okay, thank you. We'll have the report from the student leaders, please. And we started this so that many schools just have a member of the student council speak, but we call it student leaders so that anyone that does anything in the school can come and speak on it. So thank you for coming.
Hi, I'm Lauren Ferreira. I'm a senior class vice president as well as executive board president. I work with Miss Gibbons and Miss Cottrell to plan Spirit Week and certain events we do around here. A couple weeks ago we did an anti-bullying campaign. We really wanted to reach people differently. We're used to the usual, like talking out the kids, and we just kind of did a different way about it. We did announcements throughout the day at a time that caught people off guard to really make them listen this time. And we did like little facts and things that kids could really relate to and would be effective, and we all talked about it on the executive board. And we have Spirit Week this week. Monday was Pajama Day, which is always a favorite. After school, we had a pie eating contest. Today was Twin Day, which is it's always fun. It's always funny. After school, we had a baby picture, like Guess the Baby. It was teachers around school. It's always fun when like teachers get involved with our like silly stuff. Tomorrow it's themed, so seniors are, I believe we're going to be sophisticated seniors, so we dress all like business-like. Juniors are juniors, so they dress up as little kids. Sophomores, I think, are superhero sophomores, and freshmen are frontier freshmen. And each class was like in charge of designating what they're going to do. It's always fun. After school, we have a peanut butter popcorn face, like, competition, I believe. It's always fun and goofy, and everyone like gets together after school. It's a fun way for everyone to get together. Thursday is Decades Day, so you can really pick wherever you want to go with that. After school, we decorate the gym for pep rally, and Friday is the big pep rally. It's just like an always exciting, fun week for us here at THS.
Oh, thank you, that was wonderful. Thank you for telling us the great things that are happening here.
The pies hopefully were made with wheat flour, am I right?
No sugar.
It's whole wheat, it is.
No sugar, whole wheat.
Of course it is, my goodness. In fact, the next thing is the health and wellness. And
Good segue, yeah.
Good segue, thanks, Jan.
Nice, Jan.
Oh, yeah, okay, go ahead, move that, please, go ahead.
I was just gonna move up our request for permission for the concession stand, so we have a nice gentleman that doesn't have to wait for the whole meeting.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
You have, the committee has a request from one of our senior students, Alex DeSantis. Alex, as part of his senior project, as you can tell by his packet, did a lot of work, or has done a lot of work already. His project is to, from beginning to end, to build a much-needed concession stand at up on the high school field. I've gone through the proposal myself. I found it very inclusive, with ideas, the drawings. It's gone before Mr. Ames, I believe, twice, our building inspector. But Alex wanted to go beyond just the conceptual stage as far as, going through the senior project process and say, well, here's my plan, to build one someday. He wants to go beyond that. And I didn't have that permission. After this, I couldn't give that permission. Said it needed to come before the committee. You have a background packet that was provided by Alex. I know he's here. Mr. McGrady is here. Who's one of our assistant football coaches. Mr. Murray just jumped in. He's here. Alex is here to to answer any questions that you folks may have.
Who's the advisor?
The advisor is the architect,
Oh, okay.
I believe.
Well, Alex, you want to come on up?
Should be right in here. I believe it's in Alex's letter.
Yeah, that's why I was looking. I thought I read it.
The gentleman.
And Alex, this is a wonderful packet you've put together.
Very nice.
Thank you.
I'm very impressed. I know we met a few years ago about it. This is really great accomplishment. So would you like to tell us about it?
Yeah, as Mr. Rurick said, I'm Alex DeSantis. This evening I was just hoping to get your approval to move forward with my senior project and also begin fundraising for my senior project.
So, Alex, your goal is to have this completed so that senior project, we're going to actually be touring a concession. Wow.
Yeah, hopefully.
Wow.
And it's really beautiful with the
Thank
porch
you.
on it, and the big pour and everything. It's really nice.
And you're the architect? How did you find your architect?
He actually worked on my my uncle's house
There you go.
a couple years ago.
That's very Tiverton.
Yeah.
And I see you went to Mr. Eames and got all the approvals.
Yep.
We talked about that because that's really important. You know, that's great. And he signed it off. I see it. Very nice.
And I think Alex and I talked about a year ago, was it?
Yeah, I think it was about a year.
I think, and I see Linda Larson in the back, that your fundraising is going to be funneled through and helped by the Tiverton Education Foundation, correct?
Yep.
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 It looks like you've done quite a bit of work so far from your packet. Are the blueprints that are in the packet, are they essentially complete?
Yes.
Okay. And so, are you planning on doing a scale model as well?
I think I might do a scale model as well, yes.
Okay. I understand that it was sort of a fallback in case the
Yes. Yep.
whole full-scale model is not complete. So for the time that's remaining, I mean, you're estimating $60,000. That's a very ambitious fundraising goal. I was just curious, how much of your time going forward do you expect to be spending on fundraising versus something else? If the blueprints are done, right?
Yes.
Maybe you'll do a scale model. Is it really now it's the fundraising that will be your main focus?
Yeah. Yep. Right now, fundraising will hopefully be the main focus, and I have a couple of people that are willing to help me if I don't reach the goal by myself.
Do you have a fundraising advisor? I mean, it's a difficult task. Is there someone you can talk to about fundraising so much money? I personally am not sure I know where to begin.
Kind of. It's kind of my mom.
Oh, okay.
And a couple other people.
Okay. You have a group to fundraise.
Linda Larson being mom.
Okay, that's good to hear. I mean, you do have quite a few ideas in your packet about, lists of businesses and individuals that you'll be appealing to. So that looks very good. But, it's nice to know you have a support team because anybody who's raised money, there are times when you can get discouraged.
Well, and I like the targeted groups, that it's like, we're not going to get it all from here. I'm going to sort of focus on 4 different groups. That's a great idea.
Yep.
Thank you.
I was wondering, the division of your labor versus supplies?
Hopefully I'll be working on the building with a few other volunteers with the labor.
Okay, so labor is all inclusive on your supplies as the whole $60,000?
Yes.
Okay.
So free labor is what you're...
Yeah.
Volunteer labor.
Well, I have been to your presentation before when you did this for the first time for the parents. And I'm glad that you put this building down on the ground as opposed to, because at some point of time
Yep.
this was raised, I had concerns about this, but this is probably much less expensive and it's easier to maintain. this is one. And so one question is, at that time we were asking about the location of this building in the context of the sewage pipes and everything else.
Mr. Fiore and I had a conversation when this process had begun to ensure that when we built the softball field, I had to make sure that the sewer line wasn't going to run through the softball field. So the direction of the sewer line is away from where the building will be.
So
This building will end up adjacent to the bleachers and behind the backstop of that softball field, all the way down to one of the sidewalk lights. So it runs about maybe 60 feet from the original light pole that lights the field to that first walking street light that's up on the top of the field. So it'll give you a rough location where that will occur.
And that's where our pipes and everything run.
I'm glad. So it was not an additional effort, but in the context of researching the softball field, this question was answered.
Connecting to the sewer, to our water and stuff, is not a problem because we broke the line. We built the field so that we could connect to it someday,
Right.
and that we would have a refreshment, a concession stand laboratory area. So it shouldn't be a difficult process to connect.
Good. I think one problem you should probably add is to have basically a site plan in terms of which shows where this building is going to be located in the context of all other infrastructure.
And I'd just like to add, we're Tiverton Education Foundation is a 501c3, so anyone who happens to be listening to this, Alex, you might want to tell them that we will accept any and all donations through the Tiverton Education Foundation, and they can earmark it directly towards this concession stand project.
Right, and it will be a tax-deductible
100%.
deduction for
And it will be a tax-deductible donation as well, so that's a huge incentive to any businesses out there that might happen to be listening to us.
We also do have a site plan that has been generated for this that's laid onto the general site plan of the whole school, since those drawings are fairly new. And so it does fit, and we showed that to the building inspector, and he was fine with that location. Obviously, we're going to be doing dig safe and some other things just to make sure there's nothing underneath. And if there is something outside of a sewer, which we know isn't there, we'll reroute it.
I knew that you did that. I was just maybe advising Alex to add this to his senior project to make it complete, because normally you cannot, when you're building something, you have to say where it's going to be located. Yes. He has great drawings, but it would be nice if you will add this.
You're setting the bar. Yep. You're setting the bar pretty high for your classmates for senior projects, Alex.
Alex came to me as a sophomore.
Yeah, I remember we've been talking about it for a while.
I said, I'll do whatever you want. You're a sophomore doing your senior project down there.
That's wonderful. It's so nice to see, because Yanni and I were there when you first presented it. It's so wonderful to see.
So what do you need from us, Superintendent?
Approval.
Approval
to move forward so Alex can begin his fundraising.
I'll make a motion to allow Mr. DeSantis to move forward with his concession stand senior project.
Second.
Wait, just 1 second. Is this sufficient?
It's
to move ahead with senior project?
It's not. Well, it's the fund. It's part of the senior project.
Right, as outlined in his.
Yes, as proposed.
Yeah, his proposal.
Normally we don't have to give approvals for senior projects.
No, you're not giving approval for a senior project.
It's the fundraising.
As part of
and the building.
No, as part of his senior project.
So
you're
approving the
fundraising
proposal to fundraise money.
And then to build.
And then the construction on school property. So I'll modify it to say that. Got that?
Construction on school property. Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Yeah. All those in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Just remember, when it's finished, hot dogs for. Last time you chose for senior project, I was on the team watching how to build a doghouse. He was smoking a pig, am I right? Or
yeah, we had the pig. Yeah. The young man showed us how to smoke a pig. Very interesting to see.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for coming.
Wellness, so we have to be.
Yes, I was.
That's right, Miss Sand, I heard that.
Never one to beat around the bush, Mr. Yeah.
Okay, now the health and wellness.
Maybe just Tiverton should.
We just had our Health and Wellness Committee meeting, and Chartwell's was there to give their report on the new rules for the menus, and we'll pass those out next time. The federal and state regulations. And they said that Tiverton came out first in their locally grown vegetables. How much we consumed, it was 6 pounds per student when they divvied it up. So that was good news. And Ranger's application is pending for the Healthy Schools Award that Pecasset got in Fort Barton. And they just came back with 2 more questions. You filled it out and sent it back in, so that will be good news when you get that. And Ranger Bear will be there to accept the award, hopefully. And then Ms. Santa can talk to you about the cross-curricular, the science with the health, how they did in
Last year, we implemented our new science curriculum, and one of the units in grade 2 was all about plant parts, the external features of plants. So I was looking through different resources, I came across a lesson that had to do with making a salad from plant parts. So I passed it on to Chartwell's, and they picked up the ball, and they contacted the schools. 2 of the schools were able to fit them in, so they went to Ranger and Fort Barton School, and the chef from Chartwell's was there along with a couple of other assistants, and they did a PowerPoint lesson on the plant parts, and at the same time they showed them the food, and then they put together a salad, and it had roots and stems and seeds and all things like that, but things that we typically eat, but showing them how the plant parts go together. And the kids loved it, and then they also acted out some of the pieces to it, so it sounded like it was absolutely wonderful and was a strong connection to our science. So we were happy to have them do that, and hopefully they'll come back next year and do that as well.
But the next year, the executive chef ordered some earphones because he wasn't used to the noise of the children. Because when they were doing the little skit, he was like, so we're going to get him some, so he won't have to listen. Put that in the budget, please, Mr. Fiore.
We'll get a donation.
Oh, Linda.
Do it organic way. You take 2 carrots and you
Okay, that will be great. Thank you. The brick repointing update, Mr. Rivett?
Oh, it's hard to follow. We're about 90% done with the project, and I just gave you a quick picture of a before and after shot outside my office, what it used to look like versus, a sample of the work that Mr. LaRock has done. And if you do notice, you take a walk around the building, it really looks fantastic. So
He's doing an excellent job. He
I
really
think, as we
is.
mentioned at a prior meeting, the building inspector has also bought into the initial work that was done.
yeah, he already
The
approved
structural
that.
piece
Right.
that was mostly different
He already
components.
signed off on that last month.
And so far, we're on budget, so also pleased to report that.
Well, that's good. Very nice. Thank you. Council 94 request to begin negotiations.
I'm just seeking approval to send a letter to begin negotiations with Council 94. No request for the weary.
I move that we approve that.
Second.
All those in favor? And when is that up, Mr. Rivett?
June 30th of next year.
Okay, thank you. Administrator's contract?
Yes, I'm seeking approval of the administrator's contract through 2015. It's been posted, we've gone over it ourselves.
Could you please go over a few of the details, Mr. Rivett?
It's a 3-year contract with our administrators. Our administrators will receive a 0% increase this year. They'll receive a 1.75% increase in 2013-14 and another 1.75% increase in 2014-15. They will also receive a $200 stipend in each of those 2 years of 2013-14 and 2014-15. And those are really the major changes to the contract.
Now, could you mention how they used to have the merit pay for their performance, and that's out now?
going back a couple contracts, there used to be merit pay for our administrators based on how well each school did on the first, it was the new standards assessment, and then later on the NECAP assessments. But we negotiated it out. Actually, the administrators gave it up as a contract concession in the last, under the current cycle, so that's why we no longer have it in there.
And the superintendent also used to get that before that?
Yes.
And you didn't take that?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Motion to approve the contract?
Second.
All those in favor?
Thank you all.
Wait a minute.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Did you say yes, no? Okay.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Quarterly financial reports, Doug?
Yes, included in the committee's package is our quarterly report that goes to the state. And on the quarterly report, if you recall from last year, we have the town and municipal information as well. As far as the school piece, there's really nothing of note after the first quarter. We've had our typical slight increase in projections and a slight decrease, and I'm not anticipating any problems right now with fiscal year 13. But I did include the entire package for your review, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Now, this is the one the treasurer sends?
Yes, the state now requires municipal and school officials to sign this report, so the copy you have has been signed by Mr. Rurick and myself, and the town treasurer and the town administrator.
So now there's a tracking of the finances throughout the year?
Correct.
Which is good,
We're required to put our original budget in our forecast for the year as well as the year-to-date numbers.
That's good.
Well, this isn't new. I don't know that.
We've always had to do it, but it's new that it actually needs to be signed by
us.
people.
Right. And then we present it.
But that's correct. I've had to report through the town for
yeah, it's always been
years.
sent. We just have to
But
sign
what we
off
do
on it.
now is we have the sign-offs.
The sign-offs, we didn't used to have to
Which
do.
signifies both the town, and every district does this. So
Yes, it's good.
Every community, it's a benefit because you can track on a quarterly basis, both, not only the municipal expenditures, but also your schools.
So there's
and we
no-
know that some districts have, some school districts do have issues with their funding and expenditures, so it should help those
It will help them, so there's no big surprises
Right.
at the end,
It should help reduce that from happening.
We're required to send our financial results to RIDE quarterly, but the municipal side doesn't necessarily have access to that information, so they've gone through municipal finance and requested that our information be included on their report. So I think that's what's driven this report in addition to what we sent to RIDE.
So this is a piece of that collaboration that we're looking for, so that
Correct.
everybody knows.
This is an all-encompassing picture of the town
Right.
where it has municipal and school finance.
That's good. And the town side doesn't have a uniform chart of accounts.
They don't have the standardization that we've
That we have done.
Every municipality does it differently,
Right.
how they expend their
Right.
funds.
And we were a pilot on that, right, Mr. Fiore?
That's
with the
correct. We're
municipal?
one of 16 districts.
Thank you. So that everything can be tracked, if someone wants to look it up.
Oh, I'm glad you mentioned, I was going to save that for announcements, but we have sent in our final numbers for 2012 under the RIDE deadlines, and actually the first quarter is up, and we're preparing to send those numbers in as well. So we're keeping up with our requirements for the state, and I believe those will be available on the state website within a matter of weeks.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, reports or announcements?
Yes, I have a couple of announcements. Next month, all of our schools, we will be participating in one of 10 districts as part of RIDE's pilots of the new interim assessments for the Common Core standards. We will be giving them an ELA and mathematics at different times during the first 2 weeks in November. Parents will be receiving information from their school principals regarding when their children will be assessed, and we're looking forward really to seeing how our students do with the new assessments, because we're still in the process of transitioning our curriculums to the Common Core. So again, in 2014-15, Rhode Island will have shifted to the Common Core standards, and then students will be assessed with what's called PARCC assessments in the spring of 2015 in grades 3 through 11.
For ELA and math.
ELA and math. And that begin again in 2014-15. That's when it starts. So we have 2 years in which we're trying to, transition everything over to that. So these students will also be given interim assessments starting in 2014 and 15. Every district at every grade level, so teachers will be able to get snapshots, and the information is supposed to be turned around to us in a very rapid period of time, so teachers can then adjust their teaching strategies based on the results that they're going to be getting on these interim assessments. And that's what our children will be taking in November. We'll be piloting those interim assessments.
The interim assessments, will they all be taken online?
Yes. We're doing it online.
And we have enough computers for them to be done
online? The way
online?
allowed us to do it is we'll be able to do it, because we're taking one group, for example, one 4th grade class, do ELA here on the computers, then another 4th grade class at a different time, ELA.
Okay.
Our goal is to eventually have enough computers so all the 4th graders at once can take it, and then at the middle school and high school, so that we can take an entire grade off at a given period and say, take the test, 5th graders or 10th graders, and then the next period another group can take the test.
So these are not teacher-generated assessments?
No.
These are coming from RIDE or from Park?
From RIDE.
Based on how far they think our students should be in the, say, math curriculum by the beginning of November?
Well, in theory, yes. In other words, if we were at the Common Core and into it, this first interim would be now in November. So teachers would then be able to see, okay, here, how are my children progressing to this point? And then they'll get another one in February, March? Is that
I
the
believe
tentative
it's
schedule?
February. It's 3 times a year, and the tests are based on the framework for the Park assessment, and within that framework they have what they refer to as clusters of standards that are like the focus standards for each grade level in those content areas, and so these interim assessments are based on those cluster standards. And at the beginning of the year, it's really a baseline assessment for us to see where students are. Obviously, everyone's curriculum is going to be different, so we'll keep that in mind as we get to the middle of the year, because there is no statewide math curriculum, for example, but we'll be able to see what's been taught to date. So our students should be doing well in those areas versus something that might not come up until the second half of the year. But it's a tool for teachers and for schools to evaluate their curriculum and to take a look at what students' needs are throughout the year versus a once-a-year snapshot from a state assessment. So it'll be a helpful tool in that way.
So November, February, May-ish? What's that?
I believe so. I don't have it in front of me,
I know that right now they've got the schedule
April,
for
May, right.
Again,
so they're going to pilot with just 10 districts first, and we're one of them just to see what's happening.
10 or 12 districts.
It's
that's nice to be one of the pilot districts, so you can kind of.
Well, I don't know if you ask the principals all the work
well,
they had to do.
sorry.
I don't know if they share that same.
It's been really. It's been a journey.
We're going to be able to see what the problems are before. Yeah.
Right. Districts had a choice of when to implement, so there are several Race to the Top initiatives that we had signed up for, and we had to make decisions as to which pieces we would implement this year and which ones we would do next year. So many districts are also doing the interim assessments this year, and some are holding off till next year. However, the website is really just up and running, and the whole process of getting teachers and students assigned and into that website, Mr. Notoriani has been vigilant in making sure that our roster information is correct, and we've received accolades from the state that it is in and that it's, basically correct, but we still have a few issues here and there where we're having to go back and tweak things and give people access, and a lot of phone calls and emails with RIDE. They have like a 24-hour hotline to help people with this process, and it's the same login that teachers use for the new evaluation system as well. So I'm so pleased that everyone has been so patient with this process, because they want to get in there and see these assessments, but we've had difficulty giving everybody access. So day to day there are more and more people that are getting on board, but we still have a couple. So it's been a lot of interesting work.
It's been an interesting 2 months.
When it's all in place, I think it will be helpful to us, because these assessments are designed by Measured Progress, which is the company that developed our current state assessment. And as I said before, they're based on the Common Core standards, they're based on the assessment for Park, so it's essential that our students be familiar with those types of questions and that testing format being online.
And then it's important that in this pilot, the next couple of years, it will allow us to see where we need to modify our curriculum. As we know, we're working on our math now, but this first round of assessments, these interims, will show us, are we close, to where we need to be, or are we, really off target with these clusters? Do we have to really do more work than we're already doing? So it will be very useful for us, and that's why we decided internally to move forward, so that we had this time to learn about the assessments, take the time to get all the technology piece, the hardware set up, so that we wouldn't be doing this in 2014-15. So we're trying to be proactive. Words can't really describe how much work and time has gone in from the principal's end and from Al's end, from what RIDE is requiring from districts, and I really don't know how they would do it like in a district in Providence. It would just, I don't even know how they get through it all, because we have, just the problems that we have to go through. So, we're looking forward to seeing how our students do, and then, take it from there and take a look at our curriculum, continue to look at it.
So the interim assessments, do they, you say they target essential standards from across, say, the whole fourth grade math curriculum?
No.
Or is it just...
They
so
by a certain point in time,
okay,
fourth graders in math should know X cluster.
Okay.
These clustered concepts.
So they won't get something where you look at it and say, well, we cover that in May, so that's why everybody did poorly.
We're going to find that out now.
We'll find that out. In other words, because we haven't changed the curriculum over, there might be gaps because we simply haven't got, there will be, because we know everything's getting pushed down to grade level. So there might be there will be gaps in our students' knowledge simply because they haven't seen it before. So we have to take that into account. And the information is going to be shared with us, and we'll share it with you just to show you, what we're doing to get ready for 2014-15. Because again, as part of high school graduation requirements, as of right now, students have to be proficient, which is a score of 3 or higher, 3 or a 4, in both ELA and math for the Park assessments. Right now, you can get a 2. But so in 2 years, my daughter's class is that class. They're going to be playing for it's going to be a much harder requirement for students. So the more time that we have, I think the better off we'll be to meet that challenge. But again, people need to understand at home that there's the Common Core standards. That is the standards that we think kids need to know in order to be successful in college and into the workforce. Then there are the Park assessments. That's what the children take. That's the assessment. That's what they'll actually take. They don't take the Common Core test. They take the Park assessments and then the interim assessments. So the nomenclature, you have to get used to that as well, as to get away from GSEs and GLEs, and now we're moving into that. So that's where we're spending the month of November. We also have parent-teacher conferences coming up in November as well that we'll be notifying parents about. Let's see. One other thing. My office has gotten 2 or 3 phone calls regarding the middle school and courses that we offer and how kids are placed. And the questions have been, do kids get placed by what school they attend in the elementary level? We've gotten 3 calls on that. And I just want to be clear to the school committee, when kids come into the middle school from their sending school, it has no relevance from what school.
Classroom assignments have nothing to do with what school they were at.
That's what we've told the parents that have called, and they were very thankful to hear that. So I don't know where that's got started, but I just wanted to, let people know that that's not the case. And that's all I have for announcements.
Does anyone else have any announcements?
Oh, we'll also be starting the budget process next month with the principals. Whose side?
It was Mrs.
That was me.
I thought it was Mr. Cabral.
No. Yeah, it was Manny.
No, we're internally we start the process. Again, we're back on the treadmill, the budget treadmill, so we'll be starting that as well next month.
Mr. Fazette?
We've met with the students on the new breathalyzer policy. The seniors right now received it very maturely. In a brief 10-minute meeting that we had with them, we're scheduled to meet with the 9th and 10th graders first thing Thursday morning, and the juniors during advisory period, and we're going to send a Connect Ed home to the parents with the proposal as an attachment. Any questions, they can contact Mr. McKinnon and myself on Friday or email us after that.
Okay, thank you.
And they have big flashlights.
I know, I saw that.
They have they could land planes with
I saw that in the
that they use
in the
inside
Tiger Roars.
the dance hall, so to speak, in the auditorium.
Sally, Madam, I just have a quick one. I was able to, I think Mr. Magani was also there, our high school marching band performed at the Cranston Thunderbolt Invitational, which is a U.S. bands competition. Most of these bands go every week to these competitions. Our band goes to this one, and they have one shot, and they did take first place. The other band directors were extremely complimentary of their behavior, their musicality, their just how well they performed, given that they don't perform in competitions every week. So certainly those of us that were there were very proud and very pleased to watch them.
Congratulations to the band and the music program.
Mr. Alves
And Mr. Alves, yeah, that's wonderful, and all the students for their dedication.
Sunday,
Yes.
the Music Town parade. I think the high school and the middle school bands really did stand out. Of course, I'm biased, but it was an amazing parade. And today we had a cross-country meet at St. George's, and 62 kids. This was our last regular meet. 62 middle schoolers.
That's great.
And we cheered right till the very end. And so we're kicking off our basketball program soon. And our intramural basketball program with 5th graders has been a huge hit. Highly attended, one ambulance run only.
Well, that's good.
Brand new. I called it. Brand new at the middle school, and it's just been a really good year for extracurriculars.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Kicking it off.
Mr. Cabral?
All I can say is that as far as interim assessments, we're working on them at the building level. Our laptops are something that we're going to come up with computer stations in the library. So we'll be taking over the libraries for the 2-week period. So we're going to have to work around that schedule. But other than that, I've done one practice test with the kids. A lot of the kids had difficulties maneuvering around the computer, and it's got nothing to do with the test.
Right.
So a lot of that pre-testing thing is going to have to happen with the students in classes, as far as being able to take the test on the computer and be comfortable on the computer to take it. There's also a paper copy that's available. We're trying to get all the kids to take computer-based testing during this practice cycle.
But will there be accommodations made, for instance, for students who need to underline or highlight as they read and they can't do that online?
They can do it. There's tools online
that allow you to do it.
Right.
The highlighting part's not there. It's good. It's coming. But there's tools online right now allow them to underline.
And they're getting practice with that?
They're getting practice with it during the practice test.
Yeah.
If there are specific accommodations through the IEP, we'll provide it. But everything from what we've seen, the children will be able to access. We're buying extra mice so the students don't have to be frustrated with the pad, because some may not be familiar with how to use the pad, especially the younger kids.
Right.
On a
so
laptop,
we're buying,
right.
I don't know, what, 80 mice. Al ordered them today, so that we'll have them for the elementary schools, so our students won't have that.
The practice test that we just did with 1 4th grade group, instead of taking 60 minutes, we were in there for 90 minutes. So when it went into a little bit of phys ed time, and we're going to do it the next cycle too with the students. Just getting the students used to the computer. Right. That's going to be a major step at the elementary level.
You know, that would be it too, to give us, I think, regular updates. That'd be great, just to
Right,
kind of hear, oh, well, that kind of thing. We're hearing this, we're hearing that.
Right.
Some of our laptops are situated where we have to make them permanent stations. The batteries don't sometimes the kids hit the wrong button.
Right.
You know what I mean? So there's things that we need to make the computer
These are all the
into a
things we're
computer
gonna make them
lab station.
Yeah, this is before you even get to the test type
This is
thing.
before you stop.
These are all the things that
Right.
will.
This is just practice.
Right, this is just the practice of the test. And these are the things that we're learning about. We're gonna have power strips in the library, so the batteries, because the batteries need a lot of them need to be replaced. But instead of guessing whether they're gonna work or not, Al's
have
gonna
them all plugged in.
hardwire them. So, these are the things we're learning now, and then to plan for 2014-15 to say, this is what we need, just not at the high school and the middle school, but also at the 3 elementaries. So sometimes we overlook, well, they're new schools, like Al reminded me, he says, starting in February, everything's 4 years old. Because it's our 4th year that we'll be moving into those, in 2013 will be the 4th year into the new elementary schools. Like, time flies. So a lot of that technology, is starting to run its course. So we have to account for that as well, moving forward.
And they weren't built with computer labs.
No, we built them specifically for the carts. The wireless, so they could take the cards.
Because nobody foresaw at the time that we needed online assessments, computers for every student to take an assessment at the same time.
But we didn't have enough, because no one foresaw that you were going to need, 60 to 75 computers at the elementary level at one time.
Right.
No one foresaw.
Right. No.
Anything else?
So I went,
executive?
no, I went, first I have my little announcements. I went to the college fair, and I'd just like to thank the foundation and all the parents that volunteered and the teachers. And what I liked about it was the diversity of who was there. When my students went here, they only had like 4-year colleges, and they had everyone in there, 2-year colleges and cosmetology, and of course the armed services were there. It was just a wonderful, the schools were amazing, and the amount of parents and kids that came. And they're coming earlier and earlier, which is good to plan that.
There were over 100 colleges represented.
Really?
And
It
there
was
were
just amazing.
hundreds of parents that came during the course of the...
And then I saw the Tiger Rumbles, which we talked about with the dance, getting ready for the dance to inform everyone. And I'd like Miss Santa to talk about the drop-in and play that we had at Picasset School.
Yeah,
It was
very
wonderful.
exciting. We had our second drop-in and play session, and this past Monday we had, I believe there were about 16 children and families there. There were mothers and fathers and grandparents who take care of children during the day, and they all dropped in to play. And at the same time, the parent educator is able to provide them with developmental activities and information. So it's been very well received. And the consensus is that families are just so thankful to have a community resource like this, and a program that they can go to, not just for the children to play, but to network with other young families as well. So we're still looking for additional funding to bring back the other component of the program, which provides monthly home visits by our certified parent educator. And that's more, it's a smaller group, it's more one-on-one and personalized, so we are still looking for funds for that. We have a wonderful advisory committee that's been helping to brainstorm ideas and to bring the money forward, and very, very thankful to the Tiverton Prevention Coalition for their funding of the drop-in and play sessions. If it were not for their support, we would not have these sessions, so we really appreciate their ongoing support and their involvement in our advisory board.
Well, we know that it's the pre-K and, through 16 that we're working with. It's very important to get these parents involved in these students, and they were so cute. And the grandfather had the twins today, the little twins. Now, what was the funding originally for that was cut? What was the source?
The entire program cost $6,570, and it was funded through Title I, and then we also received some money from another federal fund called PERC that was coming out through the state level and for parents as teachers programs. And when those funding sources were reduced or eliminated altogether, we were waiting, hoping that something would come back through Title I, and it did not. So we got our advisory board together, and we're discussing the issue with them, and right away they said, well, then we'll raise the money, we'll find the money somehow. They were very committed to bringing the program back, and we have a parent on the committee that said that it was absolutely invaluable to her, so she's spearheading this. You might see some flyers around town, and again, we've contacted different organizations and representatives trying to get some more money to raise the other component of the program. But thankful, at least we have the drop-in and play portion, which is $2,800, and that's from the Tiverton Prevention Coalition.
But these are the things we have to be careful of, because as we were talking about, we were only one of 6 states that received 2 rounds of Race to the Top, which is something to be very proud of in Rhode Island. Everyone's always putting Rhode Island down, but we shouldn't. And when I was there, I was speaking to some of the parents, and I said isolation, confinement, and fatigue are the 3 things that get a young parent that's home alone. And they go, you know? I said, oh yeah, I know. And then we started talking about it. But we have to be careful of these federal funds, as I said, and the state funds, because it happens so quietly. They don't talk about it. No one says anything. And all of a sudden, Mr. Fiore and Mr. Rehrick have to say, we can't have that person anymore. We have to cut them to part-time because we don't have the money. So we have to keep on our federal reps, as I said, and the Congress people and on the state. We can't let that happen. We have to say, no, you're not cutting 21st century safe and drug-free schools, because that's in No Child Left Behind, the 600 pages, and you're just the school resource officer. You know, we don't have him anymore. And it just happens so quietly unless no one says anything. I guess they'll think we won't notice, so we all have to make sure we notice and give them that ring-a-ling when it happens. Thank you. Okay.
Make a motion to go into executive session under SS 4246 5A12, superintendent's evaluation.
Second.
Yeah.
Yes.
Motion, yes, yes,
Yes.
yes, yes. Okay, thank you, everyone.